Greetings, Lunarians and Rune Knights. Welcome back to Brigandine Basics. This is video 2, tutorial 2. We're going to be getting into the combat of the game, which is pretty much the biggest part of the game. You're going to get a lot of good tips out of this, so please stay tuned. I hope you enjoy. If you have missed any tutorials, you can find my playlist in the top right hand corner of every one of these videos. That way it's easily accessible for every single person who wants to get into the game. Definitely leave likes on the tutorials that you enjoy. It definitely helps out the channel a lot to get this game hyped up as much as we can. And also please share out the tutorial to anybody who is looking into getting into the game, especially if they are unable to play it at this current time if they don't have a Switch. Anyway, let's get into the combat, shall we? We are going to be going over battle basics and combat strategies. Let's dive in. Okay, so as far as achieving victory in combat, let's go over that right away. The main objective is to either 1, take out all of the leaders in combat. If you take out a leader, their squadron will retreat with them, or force the enemy into a retreat. The more monsters that you are able to kill on the battlefield will entice the enemy to have more of an incentive to retreat. Once the battlefield is cleared of all enemy units, then you have won the battle. A few key points to point out here is that if you are able to reduce a knight's HP to 0, they will be wounded for an entire season on the overworld map. This of course means they will be unable to move to other castles, and also of course unable to attack for an entire season. You can really debilitate a country's potential by wounding as many knights as possible. As I said before, if you are able to force a knight into a retreat, their squad will retreat with them. However, when the ruler of a country retreats, for example Rubino, all other knights of that nation will retreat with him. One last thing to note before we move on to the next slide is that if you are able to wound a leader and they currently still have monsters on their troop, those monsters have a potential to be captured by you, meaning that you can use them for your own army. So if you find yourself in a position where you're kind of lacking on monsters for your country, try to focus down wounding leaders in battle to potentially get free monsters from their squadron. Next slide describes the order of turns here. All battles are turn-based. The turn ends once all troops on both sides have finished their actions. Knights with a higher level will act first. You can view the turn order on the right-hand side of the screen. So, for example, Grados on the very top is going first. The next unit to go is Gio's unit, and so forth. As it said before, this is ordered by leader level, so it will eventually circle back around to Grados and have the exact same order. This order can change, however, if, for example, 2 leaders have the same level, it'll randomize the turn order, or if you are able to level up a leader during battle and they can surpass another leader's level. You can easily tell the difference between who is invading and who is defending by looking at the icon to the left of their portrait in the turn order. Invaders have a sword and defenders have a shield. When you place your troops down, you'll place them in groups of an A, B, and a C group. When you place your troops down, you'll place them in Group A, Group B, or Group C. This is important to note because when you place them down at the beginning of the battle, it'll tell you where A is going to be placed along with B and C. For example, usually Group A is placed in the middle, and then Group B and C are on the left and right. If I'm to take, for example, Rubino into a battle, he's the ruler, I want to protect him as much as possible, I'll usually put him as Group A, so he has 2 squadrons on both sides of him to defend him really effectively. If you have any additional questions about turn order, please leave it in the comments below. I will be happy to answer any and all questions. So now we can finally get into the bulk of the game. During a troop's action, the HP bar of a knight and monster units in the troop will be highlighted in white. It's time for Shizzler's troop action, so the icons of units that can perform an action are highlighted. The knight of a troop will have their HP bar adorned with a crown as they are the leader of the troop. When the HP of the leader drops to 0, all monsters in that troop will retreat. So we're getting into movement here. Let's see. Select Shizzler with the A button, select move from the menu, then move him to the hex indicated by an arrow. So before we actually commit to that, really quick, you can use the right analog stick to move the camera in any direction that you see fit. So there's left, there's right. You can also zoom in by pushing up, and you can also zoom out by pushing down. You have 3 different zoom features there. I typically like to keep it as far away as possible. I just prefer to have the field of view. But of course, when something cool is about to happen, I'll zoom in real quick and look at the action really close up. So, really cool feature on this game. You could not do this in the original Brigandine. This is super cool, especially for us veterans. So, anyway, let's get into the move real quick. So, marching towards the enemy, select the unit with A, and then you go ahead and select move, which will bring up the grid once again. You can do this the same way that you select castles by either free roaming it with the left analog stick, or you can simply use the directional pad to go tile by tile. I actually prefer to go tile by tile, and of course you can move the camera as you do this and stuff, but I prefer to do it with a directional pad because it's just a little bit easier. I'm sure if I was holding a pro controller, I would be probably using the stick, but regardless, you can use either or, left stick or D-pad. So you click A to confirm the movement. After moving, the skill and standby options are displayed so that you can select your next command. As enemy troops are still quite far away, select standby to end the unit's actions. And boom, confirmed. We will wait. Now we're going to move our monsters here. Move the monsters in Shizzler's troop to the spaces near him and put the monsters on standby as well. Moving the Simurgh here, select move, and then a grid of course pops up for the Simurgh as well. This will be true for every single unit. Just to show you really quick how far away the enemy units are, they're pretty far away. They're defending their castle right here, so it's going to take a few turns for us to come into combat. Now, on this demo, they're probably going to come to us. In fact, in the original Brigandine, if you set the difficulty to easy, defenders would come towards you, which made it super easy. But I'm going to anticipate that if you set it to normal or hard, they're going to wait for you to come to them, and then you'll have to actually deal with them defending their own castle. Regardless, let's go ahead and keep following here. So it's got us putting the Simurgh in front of the leader. Now it's very important that you know how to protect your leaders effectively. They can be in the front line quite a bit, but we'll get into that when we go to advanced combat mechanics in another video. But just so you know, please take care of your leader, protect them as best as you can. If they die, your monsters will retreat with them and also have a potential to be captured by the enemy forces. Stand by. Next is the Gygus. We'll just keep moving along here. There we go. Stand by, and the High Lizard Man is next. Or last, should I say, in the troop. And put him here. So you can tell how they already have us protecting the leader quite a bit. And stand by. Enemy's turn. Next is the enemy's troop action. The current action sequence of all the troops on the battlefield can be viewed on the right of the screen. We talked about this in detail earlier. You can see that after the enemy troop completes their action, it will be Rubino's turn. So this is a good way to plan out your strategy on the battlefield to make sure that you're always looking at that turn order, because if you forget who's going next, it can really debilitate your actions. It means a full unit can take the action. That could be up to 7 total units. As a leader, can hold up to 6 monsters in their squadron. Definitely pay attention to the turn order frequently. We definitely went over this earlier, but just to reiterate, ruler refers to the leader of a nation. The ruler's HP drops to 0. That nation will lose the battle even if there are still other allies left on the battlefield. Therefore, the ruler must stay out of the enemy's attack range. The opponents this time aren't very strong, however, so you can move him toward the front line. Regardless, still be very careful with this. You don't want to put him out there where he can be attacked by 2 or 3 units all at once. Alright, now we get to move Rubino's troop. Let's see if the tutorial actually allows us to protect him effectively. We're going to place him right here. It's pretty far ahead, but his unit should be able to move either in front of him or right next to him to protect him effectively here. So, repeating the process with Rubino's troops. After Rubino's troop action, all ally and enemy actions are complete. This marks the end of the first turn of the battle. Now, they didn't explain it here yet, but there are a total of 12 turns in every battle. If you are invading an enemy castle and you do not successfully kill off their squads by turn 12, you will lose the battle regardless. Defenders will always win a battle if it comes to a full 12 turn count. Trust me, it's plenty of time, but definitely keep your eye on the turn count to make sure that if you are invading, it does not go past turn 12. Okay, let's continue. Unicorn. Moving forward here, this is your healing units. We'll get into that on more combat mechanics later on. Wyvern here is a flyer, sky terrain. Very cool. Highly evasive sky terrain, by the way. And we have a tier 2 dragon, which is a frost dragon. This is really cool to me because we never had a frost dragon in the original game. So I'm loving the different elementals in this one now. Stand by. And he's pretty well protected, so that's going to conclude it for the basics of troop movement and controls during the combat. Next, let's go over command range and try moving our units based on this new knowledge. First, let's look at command range. Okay, pay very close attention. This is a huge mechanic that needs to be thought about at all times. Command range is the area in which a Rune Knight leader is able to use their mana to give orders to the monsters in their troop. However, the cursor over a unit and some colored hexagons around the commanding knight show up. So if your cursor is currently hovering over a monster that belongs to Squad A, it will show the leader of Squad A's command range. Command range is depicted by the blue hexagonal area. You can see that in the picture on the left, the blue hexagon stemming from that paladin leader. What it's showing is that the dragon is outside of that command range. Because of this, their stats are very much debilitated, so you have to make sure that you keep all monsters within their own leader's command range. If you do not, they're probably going to get wiped out very quickly, so make sure you take extra care of this mechanic in particular. Next slide is also a big one, the terrain effects. It's the effect a terrain has on a unit that can be used to give yourself an advantage in combat. As you move your cursor over the hexagons on the battle map, it'll show you exactly what terrain is associated with that hexagon. You got prairies, you got forests, you got mountains, you got water, you got a whole bunch of stuff. When you start getting used to a unit's preferred terrain, you can give yourself a serious advantage in battle in regards to accuracy and evasion. There's also other special effects regarding terrain when you look at certain monsters, but we will get into the specifics of that in another video. They have Rubino selected. His preferred terrain is prairie. If he's on a prairie, then his accuracy and evasion percentage will go up by 5%. However, if he's moved into a forest, his accuracy and evasion go down by 10%. Just like command range, it's super important that you are able to keep an eye on this mechanic as well. So right now we're going to practice keeping monsters within Shizzler's command range. As you can tell, the command range is a 4 hex radius. It's going to be pretty easy to keep the monsters within, but we want to make sure that we always look after it. Shizzler's movement type is categorized as planes. This is the most common type of movement category among units. These units move well on flat terrain, but suffer a penalty in accuracy and evasion on other terrain. Always check the terrain when moving your units. Also, though these units can walk further distances, beware of moving units too far forward, as they may become surrounded by enemies. This is the way your battles are typically going to go, by moving as a group adjacent to each other. Continuing to move here, Shizzler is going to be adjacent to Rubino. And we stand by once again, because we're not even close yet to the enemy units. We're getting there though. Monsters with wings such as the Simurgh are categorized as sky. Talked about this earlier. Because these units fly, they have no issues moving around on any terrain. However, that also means they have no preferred terrain. This basically means that they can't get any extra bonuses to accuracy and evasion. However, just being a sky type in general gives them a ton of advantages regardless. Keep in mind that they are weak against units that use bows, such as centaurs or hunters. Continuing to move here, you can see the move range on this thing is super wide. If we count the hexes from the center of the troop, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's a total of 6, so that already covers a ton of range on the battlefield, and they are not hindered, as you can see, by the forest over here. Well, they also will not be hindered by water or mountains or anything else like that. The sky terrain units are very valuable to your troop. Definitely take advantage of this mechanic. Anyways, moving on here. In front of the leader, very good, nice protection. And wait. Monsters like the Gygus that have an advantage on mountain terrain are categorized as mountain. These units gain accuracy and evasion boosts on mountain terrain. However, these stats will decrease when fighting on forested or watery terrain. This is definitely true for all the heavy units within the game, like Gyguses and Golems and stuff like that. So definitely take advantage of mountains if they are around you. As you can tell, like, this battlefield is filled with plains. There's hardly like any mountains in here to take advantage from, but there is water and forest. So keep these dudes away from water and forest in this particular battle. So stand by. And Lizard is next, or the High Lizard Man rather. Monsters like the High Lizard Man that have an advantage on watery terrain are categorized as swamp. These units gain accuracy and evasion boosts on watery terrain. However, these stats will decrease when fighting on rocky or forested terrain. I actually want to experiment with something here. So as you can see, as we move across these terrains, you can see how it changes from prairie. Here's road. Here's forest over here. Well, there's meadow. Hey, here's forest over here. Look how the accuracy and evasion rates go down by 10% if I were to move him here. You need to look at these menus very frequently to make sure that you're not screwing yourself over by going into unpreferred terrain. So get out of the forest and then head towards the water. So. And stand by. Enemy's turn. We're starting to make contact. Oof. Counterattack. And a miss. Lovely. You're already seeing a lot of things unfold. I will explain here in detail in a moment. So as you can tell, there were counterattacks being employed there. Every time a unit attacks another unit, there will usually be a counterattack by the opposing unit. Counterattacks don't always go off. It depends on what you're actually attacking with, but we will get into that later. So now we're going to see an example of magic attacks. Rubino is in a position to use spells to attack. Although spells cost MP, there's no fear of being countered, and spells generally have a 100% hit rate. However, spells cannot be used after a unit has just moved. Yeah, very specific. So as I said before, not all things can be counterattacked. This is one example. But as it says here, you have to make sure that you stay put, otherwise you cannot use a spell if you move. So we're going to see an example of the Frost spell being cast here. We have Rubino's unit selected, so we're going to go down to Magic, and then select Frost. This has a 3 hex radius, as you can see. Anything within this radius can be targeted. As you can tell, I have the availability to choose whatever unit I want to attack that's in the radius. Notice as I move the cursor throughout these units, the power level is changing on the left-hand side. You can view that on the top of Rubino's information. So right now the power is sitting at 127, but it's being decreased by 112. But if I move to the leader, the power is increasing from 129 to 135. There's a ton of factors that are going into this, like intelligence levels and also resistances, weaknesses, number of elemental orbs. It's a huge mechanic to talk about. I will go into further detail later. But just so you know, there's a ton of things going on here at the same time. If I select the ghoul, you can see how the power significantly increases because they typically have a much lower intelligence level. Intelligence in this game is used to depict the unit's magic power and also magic resistance. So if I want to take advantage of the most power, I can go ahead and target the ghoul here. However, I know how important it is to target leaders. So I'm going to go ahead and target the leader. Okay, now it looks like we're going to get into some healing here. The unicorn is in position to use a healing spell. Healing spells consume MP to recover HP or heal status conditions. Like attack spells, they cannot be used after a unit has just moved. To use a spell, select Unicorn and choose the heal spell from the magic menu. Do that now. Go down to Magic, select Heal. And it also brings up another radius. This one is green because it's a support magic spell. And as you expect, you can cycle through the units that are within the radius to choose who you want to heal. It will of course tell you what the end result will be for said heal in the bottom right hand corner. If I'm healing the dragon, notice how his HP is going up from 618 to 692. So we will go ahead and heal the dragon. Awesome. Okay, moving on to the flying unit here. This is the Wyvern. If a unit is adjacent to the enemy after moving, they may attack by selecting a skill from the skills menu. Here's the hex grid here. Moving to this space, adjacent to the leader. We click skill and we can see all the skills available to said unit. This one only has one, which is Tail Whip. Right now, let's just go ahead and select Tail Whip and get ready to attack. But before attacking, always check the battle forecast panel. We looked at this earlier with the heal. From left to right, you can see values that represent the critical rate, accuracy, and power of the attack. Critical rate shows the chance of landing a critical blow, accuracy is the probability of the skill actually connecting, and power refers to the damage the attack will deal. Similarly, a forecast about how much counter damage the enemy will deal is displayed together with other stats as well. The unit's HP display will show how much HP is expected to remain should the opposing unit land their attack. That is also true for the Wyvern. You'll notice if we get counterattacked by the Imp, the HP will be reduced to 474 on our unit. And confirm. Connected. And counterattack. He crit me. Oh my god. I didn't expect that. Okay. Cool. Chump damage, but whatever, you know, it was a surprise. And that is legit the basics of combat. It's really not that hard once you learn the basic mechanics of it. Keep in mind your combat range, your terrain type. Be sure to review your skills to see what range you need to be within in order to execute them properly. If the range says 1 hex, you need to be adjacent. If it says 1 to 3 hexes, for example, it can target anything within a 3 hex radius. Also be sure to protect your leaders effectively, and especially your ruler. Keep in mind that if they die in combat, their monsters will retreat with them, or even worse, they can be captured by the enemy. Same thing goes for the enemy. You may wish to focus down leaders whenever you do your first few battles on your first playthrough. This will make your battles a lot easier if the enemy puts themselves in that position to take out their leaders. And if they have some really powerful monsters in their troop, you may get lucky and actually capture those powerful monsters for yourself. Just a quick little tip to give yourself an easier time for your first run. So now we're getting into a little bit more advanced mechanics here. This is combat strategies. First, we're going to talk about skills and spells. From the action menu, select skill or spell to see a list of skills or spells a unit can use. This list will show information such as range, power, and elements. Skills or spells that cannot be used after moving are designated by the footprint icon. Going into more detail here, when it comes to element, the power of a skill or spell depends on a unit's and target's element. There are several elements in the game. You have red, blue, green, white, and black. You can actually view the element system if you look closely on the screenshot. Look on the very top right. You see all 5 colors: red, green, blue, black, and white. If you look closely, you'll see arrows pointing from one element to another. Let's start with the red element on the top of the triangle there. You'll see an arrow pointing from red to green, which means that red is strong against green. Green is strong against blue, and blue is strong against red. It kind of creates a rock, paper, scissors type scenario. And right next to those are black and white. Those will always oppose each other, so they are strong against each other. Moving on to range, that's pretty self-explanatory. It's describing how far your skills reach within a given hex. If it says just one, once again, you have to be adjacent in order for that skill to work. You'll notice that Flying Stinger in the screenshot has a range of 1 to 2. That means this unit can hit any other units either adjacent or 2 hexes away. Next category is ground or sky. This represents the accuracy against ground or flying units. If the arrow is pointing down, that means that skill in particular is ineffective against the particular ground or sky type. In the screenshot, you can tell that Gale Thrust is ineffective against sky types. So is Worldly Sacrifice, but they are both effective against ground types. Flying Stinger, labeled with a star, is a guaranteed hit against both types. Each skill will also let you know if it is susceptible to a counterattack. Gale Thrust and Worldly Sacrifice will be countered. However, Flying Stinger cannot be countered. This is actually a little different from the original game, because even if you were to do a ranged attack like this, if you hit an enemy unit that was right next to you, 1 hex away, they would still counter you even though you had a ranged attack. That doesn't seem to be the case in this game, which I'm extremely thankful for. And that covers the mechanics that are going to be shown in this demonstration, so let's get into the good part. There are a few ways to launch an attack that depends on the classes of the units on the battlefield. We're going to learn about properties of some skills and spells. Pretty much went over all things within those screenshots, but now we get to see it played out. So we're going to move Grados' troop. Grados is the general of Norzaleo. His brave feats are rooted in his deep loyalty to the royal family. This hero has protected the kingdom for many years. Grados' paladin class means that he has a lot of physical attacks and strong defensive capabilities. He is best suited for the vanguard on the battlefield, which is the front line. Selecting move here, and all the way to the front. We are a lot closer to the enemy squadrons here this time, but we will stand by and then continue to move the rest of the squad. This is a tier 2 unicorn. Look at this. This is a Pegasus right here. We'll get into class changes when we get into more videos and stuff like that. I think that's going to be in the 3rd video, where we're talking about quests and class changes with leaders and also evolutions of monsters. Really cool stuff. So hopefully you're looking forward to that one. Alright, moving on here. I'm going totally crazy with the camera right now. Do not mind me. I'm just so tickled that we are able to move the camera so freely in this game. I'm not used to this. Alright. And by. Here's a tier 2 angel. Pretty cool. Called an Archangel. Very nice. Move here. And then Cyclops is left. This is another tier 2 monster. My goodness. Grados has a really powerful unit in this demonstration. Boom. Next is Jiu. I actually like this character a lot. Jiu is the High Priestess of the Norzaleo Kingdom. Everyone in Runersia has heard of this Grand Witch. Her class is Saint, which focuses on ranged healing and magic attacks, making her better suited for the rear guard position. Monsters also have vanguard and rear guard roles like Grados and Jiu. The best troop is one that is well balanced and thus ready for anything. Moving Jiu here. Try to keep her supported here in the back row. And let's put this dragon in front. Very good. Is this an ancient dragon? No, it's a holy dragon. Okay. The ancient dragon is actually the third tier of the dragon class. I'm not going to spoil hardly anything with that, but we'll get into that way later. Is it here? Yeah, it's there. Sorry. Stand by. This is a high centaur. I think we have all tier 2 monsters in this battle. This is pretty cool. Alright. Actually, look. If you notice, the centaur, back to the terrain scenario, if you were to move him into the forest, look at the accuracy and evasion rate on this guy if he's in the forest. Plus 20% on both accuracy and evasion. Really cool. But thus, the tutorial does not call for us putting him there. We got to move him here. Which is fine. Alright, then we have a tier 2 goblin. This guy is different, actually. He's new in this game. All the other ones are ones that I know from the original game, but this guy is brand new. Where do we move this guy? Right here? There we go. And stand by. Enemies take their action.
Yeah.
We're already in the thick of it. Counter with killer shot. Very nice. There's a mandrake. There's a wyvern. Miss. Yeah, boy. Against flyers. Look at the damage difference on that flyer. Did you see that? So, definitely make use of your archer units against flyers. It works pretty much the same like Fire Emblem. Veilstroop. He's already in the front line. My god. Counter Hyper Fist. A miss. No. That actually has a chance to stun the enemy, which keeps them stunned until they are hit, actually. Counterattack, that is super effective, man. That was actually black attack against white. I had the white attack against the ghoul and I did extra damage. Next tip, as units move around and gather in one place, effects like Zone of Control and Enclosure may trigger. Alright, this is where it gets a little complex, so bear with me here. ZOC or Zone of Control. A unit's ZOC consists of the 6 hexagons around them. This area affects the unit's mobility. You cannot move through an enemy unit's 6 hex zone of control. That tip is described on the second screenshot where the X is. This allows for various zone of control strategies such as placing units to restrict enemy movement, protecting your rear guard, or keeping units in critical condition out of harm's way. Next slide is the enclosure mechanic. This effect is activated when you overlap all 6 hexagons of an enemy unit's ZOC with ally ZOCs. When you see a chain icon on a space within your movement range, moving a unit there will activate an enclosure. Enclosed enemies are marked with the chain, and this has an effect on accuracy and critical rates. This is extremely important, especially if you are trying to hit a unit that has high evasion. This is especially important when trying to take down high agility units such as wyverns or sky types, and also agile leaders. Okay, back into the thick of it here. Skills and magic can target single units or all units within a given range, and have different effects such as dealing damage, healing, or boosting stats. Grottos knows Iron Aura, a skill that boosts his defense. Activate it now in preparation for the upcoming battle. Selecting Grottos, we go down to skill. See all of his awesome skills right here, but we're going to use Iron Aura in this scenario. It increases your defense for a limited number of turns. You'll notice the MP cost on the far right, and you will also notice that it does not have a footprint icon that is X'd out. This means that you can use this skill and then also move in the same turn, or you can reverse that, move and then use Iron Aura. Really, really useful for a frontline fighter. We're going to cast Iron Aura here, boost our defense. Apologies, I misspoke. You are actually not able to move after using Iron Aura. However, you can move and then use Iron Aura, but it does not work the other way around. Selecting the Pegasus. For example, the Pegasus Halo spell guarantees that an ally's next attack will hit and increase the experience gained that action. Another really useful mechanic if you are trying to hit very agile units. This can be great for units with low accuracy, such as the Cyclops. However, the Pegasus doesn't fare well in direct combat, so place it safely out of reach in General Grottos' rear guard. It's already well protected, so we can use the magic spell now. Using Halo, we are going to place it on the unit of our choice. Who's it going to be? Probably the Cyclops, I would say. You'll notice that the hex range is extremely wide. This is a 4 hex range. In a unit within the 4 hex range you can select, so we're going to select the Cyclops here for this example. Hit and experience up. Next unit is the Elemental. Actually, White Elemental, this is tier 2. Ranged attacks can hit several enemy units at once. One example of this is Breath, which can be used by dragons and elementals. Breath-like attacks have different attributes such as attacking in a straight line or damaging everything in a 1 hex radius. They also cannot be countered, though they will deal damage to allies as well. Very important, make sure your positioning is key when using a breath attack. A lot of the times you can get away with hitting an ally and they won't sustain so much damage, especially if you put a protect spell on them, but just be aware, if they are within range, you can hit your allies with breath attacks. We're going to use the Elemental's Holy Shot here. Move. Here's the positioning. And I think this is a 3-range hex attack, really. So the skill, Holy Shot. We notice that the range is 1 to 3. If you look at the grid on the left-hand side, it's a straight line. The effects, it says it will deal major damage to all units in a 3-hex straight line, and it never misses. Again, it cannot be countered. It's effective against ground and sky, and also the MP cost is 50. Keep in mind this will do white elemental damage because of the attack element property on the white elemental. Look at the bottom right of the screen once again. It has a white orb next to the attack icon. So if you are able to target any dark elementals, this will do increased damage. In fact, we are able to. This Revenant right here is double black, so this will do extra damage against him. Before I commit to this, you can rotate this to be placed in any direction that you want to. Of course, this is the optimal direction, so we're going to commit to this one right here. Now, typically, you can see how much damage you're going to do to each unit that's within the range. It will not let me do that right now, but when you use one of these abilities in normal battle and you have these 3 units selected, you can hit the shoulder buttons left or right to swap between those units to see how much damage you're going to do to each unit. Alright, let's commit. Here we go. Boom. Really cool units within the game. They are very powerful. However, they are very squishy, so make sure that you defend them accordingly. Alright, selecting one of my favorite units here in Brigandine is the Archangel. Magic is the most effective way to target multiple foes. Most magic attacks are guaranteed to hit, making them a very reliable option. Magic may target units around the caster, or everything around a given point on the map. Some affect all units equally, while others, like Holy Word, will only target enemies. Next, let's use the Archangel's Holy Word spell so that you can observe the wide range and incredible power of this spell. This is a classic Brigandine spell. It's a favorite of a whole bunch of veterans, I guarantee you. So, Magic, Holy Word, look at the hex range. It's 1 to 4 radius. Look at the grid on the left-hand side. Anything that is caught within that grid is going to be hit by this. Now, the power is significantly lower because it can hit a whole bunch of units. However, it's very, very good for killing off weak units that have low HP, or just simply doing damage to a whole bunch of different things that don't have capability of getting healed. Anyways, that's a discussion for a later time. Let's commit to this awesome spell right here. You can see that all of these enemy units are within this range. Let's see what happens. Boom. Everything got hit all at once. Very, very powerful spell. It definitely costs a lot of MP, but if you use it wisely, you can seriously turn the tide of battle in an instant. Alright, Cyclops, here we go. Status conditions can play a large part in turning the tide of battle. Certain skills, magic, or even regular attacks have a chance of inflicting a status condition. Status conditions include Faint, Poison, Paralyze, Petrify, and Charm. Besides this Cyclops, Goblin Knight and enemy Mandrake units on this battlefield can inflict these status conditions. If your units get inflicted with a status condition, use Geo's Medica spell to restore them to normal. You can also cure this up with the magic spell called simply Cure from a Unicorn or a Pegasus. You'll see that in the spell roster later. Additional tips here for this: status conditions like Petrify and Poison persist from the moment they are cast. Others like Faint and Paralyze recover after a set amount of turns. Some like Petrify can only be cured with the Cure spell. Status conditions are displayed above the HP bar and in unit info. You can see the Paralyze icon right next to Grados' portrait there, and also, as they said, above the HP bar on the actual unit on the battlefield. Keep in mind, this is also true for buffs as well. If you'll notice the icon above Grados' HP bar right now, that is the Iron Aura buff, so you can view both buffs and debuffs above the HP bar and next to units' portraits. Okay, and these music notes right here next to the Cyclops is the Halo spell, so he's guaranteed to hit whatever I throw at the enemy. So we're going to use the pre-move Heavy Impact, which has a lot more power to it. Plus, it has a 33% chance of inflicting Faint, decreasing the target's attack and defense. Let's go ahead and commit. Look at the damage it's going to do to Bale. Very, very powerful skill, and it's also a skill that cannot be countered. And here we go, heavy impact. 178, it did not cause faint. However, notice that we did not get counterattacked. Very, very useful skill in general, but if you have Halo at the ready, it is superb. Let's get back to Geo here. Let's talk about healing multiple units. Geo knows Area Heal, a spell that restores the HP of all the units within a certain range. We go down to Magic here. Let's notice the range. Going down to Area Heal, the range of this is 0 to 2. It will restore a moderate amount of HP to all ally units within a 2 hex radius. Selecting it here, here is the radius. Anything in this area will be affected by the heal. Let's commit. Boom. Very awesome healing spell right there, and it also heals the leader. Super useful if you are getting hit by a ton of AoE attacks like Holy Word. Alright, moving on with the Holy Dragon here. Let's try the Holy Dragon's ranged attack. Keep in mind, however, that this dragon's breath skill and spells can't be used right after a unit has moved, so it's another pre-move attack. We're going to move down to skill here and select the Holy Breath attack. Keep in mind, whatever is in range of this attack will be damaged, so make sure that there are no allies within this range, or if the ally can easily take the damage. The range is 1 to 4. Very, very powerful attack. Again, we can move this wherever we want to. The optimal position would either be here or here, containing enemy units. It is a holy attack, so the only dark element that I can see is this ghoul over here. So I'm going to take advantage of trying to maybe kill the ghoul and also do damage to the leader. Damn. Ghoul is dead, yes. And leader took some damage, very nice. Moving on with the High Centaur. Classic Brigandine monster, man. Love me some High Centaurs. Range attacks can strike enemies from a distance. Hunter classes and Centaur monsters are skilled in these techniques. Range attacks are hard to counter, which makes them great for guaranteeing some easy damage. However, depending on the unit you target, they may counter with a ranged attack of their own. If you hit with a ranged attack at least 2 hexes away, the enemy would not counter you even though they had ranged capability. The High Centaur and Goblin Knight in your troop can use ranged attacks. Try distancing yourself from the enemy, then attack with the High Centaur. Moving away to this hex here. This High Centaur can attack, I believe, 3 hexes away. Yes, like the original. So the range is 1 to 3. Anything within this radius, you can target and hit as a single target attack. Who are we going to hit? Probably the leader, I would say. Or we could take advantage and hit the flyer for some extra damage there. You notice the power increases if I change from a ground unit to a flying unit. And it's pretty significant. It's a full 28 points right there. Same thing with this Wyvern right here. Look at the power against this leader here. A lot of defense, ground unit, Wyvern, flying unit susceptible to arrow attacks. I'm actually going to target the demon right here because it is a guaranteed kill. Bam. Easy pickings. Next is the Goblin Knight. This is tier 2 as well. In fact, all our monsters are tier 2 in this battle. It's freaking amazing. I actually like this one a lot. Next, let's try out the Goblin Knight's range attack. This skill also has a chance of inflicting paralysis on top of dealing damage. This skill cannot be used right after the unit has moved, so select Despair Wave from the unit skill list before moving. I actually think they have a typo here. If you look at the hex grid on the left, that's a 3 hex range. The range says 1 to 3, but the effects in the tooltip says it's a 4 hex radius. This is not correct. This is a 3 hex radius, but regardless, it has a 25% chance of inflicting paralyze. Now, since this attack has different properties to it like paralysis, it's not going to be more effective against flyers, as you can see. So here is the Wyvern here. The power is relatively the same across all of these units, but not significantly increased against flyers. As you can see, the accuracy is changing throughout the units as well. We have decreased accuracy against the High Dog here. If I want to get a better hit, I can target the Lizard Man right here with 94% accuracy, or it might benefit me even more if I can try to paralyze a leader. In fact, I'm going to try to paralyze the Wyvern because the Wyvern has high movement range and is able to get to your rear guard. Let's see if we can paralyze the Wyvern. Unsuccessful. That's fine. Enemy's turn?
Yeah.
Heavy thrust. Ooh, that's a critical hit. That is big damage. Yikes. And a counterattack. So the elemental variant in the original Brigandine game was what's called a Djinn. The Djinns had no counterattack. So this variant has a counterattack. Super excited for that. Another critical hit. Jeez. Crits all around, eh? Alright, that's fine. Wyvern's in critical condition. I'll take care of you later. Ooh, big miss there. I wonder actually if the high dogs have a breath attack in this. Oh my goodness. That was a pre-move attack. Is that a kill? I counter-killed the leader. Oh my god. So, if you notice, Squadron A is gone. So, the leader of Squadron A we killed, and now his monsters are gone. Wow. A counter kill. Okay. Cool. Next is... Knights and monsters also possess abilities. You can view a unit's abilities from the stats screen. So as I mentioned before, if you hover your cursor over any unit, you can hit the X button on your Switch controller to view the details. This goes for enemy units as well. Let's take a look at Grados' abilities as an example. Shield Block S reduces damage by 25% when activated, and HP Recover B recovers 3% of the unit's max HP every turn. When a knight changes class, they may keep their old abilities, or they may be upgraded into more powerful ability. Now we get to battle on our own. Okay, so let's check some of the stat screen out actually. So I have free roam now, thankfully. And if I go over any unit, I can hit the X button for stats. At least I would be able to if this wasn't a tutorial. It's actually not letting me go to the stat screen when hitting X. That's okay. Alright, I will showcase that later, but in a normal battle, you can go ahead and hit X to view any unit's stats. That includes, again, the enemy units. Alright, let's have some fun with this. Let's see what I want to do with Grados here. This isn't going to take so much time, but can we get some good accuracy against ground with Judgment? Judgment is his biggest move. It costs MP, but it has a ton of power on it. So let's see what Judgment does. This is a 100% accuracy against the enemy leader. Let's do it. Let's commit. Here we go. Oh, wow. Her defense skill went off. So did mine. But oh my gosh, she actually blocked the pre-move skill. It still did a ton of damage, but not nearly as much as it could have. Oh my goodness, I did not know she had shield block. Holy crap. That was a surprise. Okay. I'm fine with that, I guess. Okay. Well, let me see if I can blow you up with magic then. Let's try the Archangel and see if we can Divine Ray your booty into oblivion. We have a power of 170. Not a guaranteed kill, but it's going to do a ton of damage. She cannot block this. Let's do this one. Divine Ray from the Angel. Boom, big damage. Yeah, very good. Alright, the Pegasus. We need some heals up in here, yo. Or do we do a Halo? The Elemental could use a heal, however, I think Halo would be better for the Gygus. Yeah, let's go ahead and put you over here. Do a breath attack in range of these two units. No, not that move. This move. Holy shot. And boom. Excellent damage there. And let's Halo the Gygus. If I do this, I can probably hit the leader with a powerful attack. It won't be a pre-move, but it'll at least be a heavy-hitting normal attack. So, hit and experience up. Guaranteed hit. Let's see. Yeah, we can get to her. This actually might be close to a kill. Let's see. Hyper Fist. Not quite. The power is pretty low, but that's okay. We're still gonna hit, so. Really? Defense? Again? It caused faint, which is amazing. We didn't get countered, and she's stunned, but man, that defense skill is popping off, isn't it? Goodness. Okay, Jiu, I think I want you to kill the Wyvern, actually. Yes, Divine Ray this Wyvern into oblivion. Boom. Yeah, boy. We're doing good on health. We really don't need any healing from her. We just go ham with magic. Alright, if you notice, I don't want to go over here because it goes out of the command range of Jiu, but if this was in my command range, I would go over here because it has a chain on the hex. This will cause an enclosure against this leader because I have Grados here, and I would have an enclosure over here. That overlaps the hex range that she is occupying. which will again increase your accuracy against high agility units. Very important to remember. Anyways, let's go ahead and commit to the attack here. Okay, so the feint status works a little bit different in this game as opposed to the original. You were actually guaranteed a hit if an enemy unit was feinted. But in this scenario, they simply cannot counterattack, and you also do additional damage because they have this status. Still very powerful, but you are not guaranteed to hit. Let's see if we can connect with 88%. We do. Is that a kill? No, it was close to a kill. I think she had, what, 6 HP left? Centaur, can we get the final kill? 98%. Can I hit 98? Okay. I've missed 99% before, trust me. You have evidence on my YouTube channel on my previous Brigandine playthroughs. Go back and watch them. That was a lot of fun, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for that. Really, really cool tutorial there. Let's go ahead and skip to the end here so we can do our closing. Brigandine fans, thank you so much for joining me for that time there. That was awesome to make for you guys. Hopefully, the new players got some good tips out of that. By all means, if you have any questions whatsoever, please hit me up in the comments below. I always put a pinned comment on the top of the comment section that says, any questions, ask me here. Please make use of that if you need any more information from me. I'm super excited to get into the next tutorial for you guys, which is the third part of our Brigandine Basics series. That's going to include a basic discussion about quests and class changes. Once you have completed this 3-part series of Brigandine Basics, make sure you put them to good use. And I will have intermediate and advanced guides ready for you all as soon as you are prepared to take your game to the next level. Once again, if you have missed any of my guide videos, you can find all of them in the top right hand corner. There's a number of Brigandine resources you can check out in the description below, including the engine fan website, also the Discord server that I am hosting, and also HappyNet's website of Brigandine, where you can look at character profiles and a whole bunch of new stuff to come on the newsfeed, etc. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more guide videos like this and LP series in the future, and also consider sharing this guide video series with other new players that are interested in the game. Brigandine fans, it's been a pleasure. I am your host, Runersia. I will see you on the battlefield, Rune Knights. Peace. Take care.